2024, 30 stories in 30 short days, or as I like to call it, 30 and 30. My name is Jeff Wells. I have the privilege of being at the Olympics for 11 times, being in Paris 2024, to launch a new ministry, Beyond the Rings. And to my right is the lovely Destiny Killian and the not so lovely Brandon Long. Both Missouri Baptist University students, so shine on. I'm an MBU grad as well, but I don't think they want to claim that, but they will claim you guys. Destiny, you're studying worship, and Brandon, you're Christian ministries and apologetics.
Yes.
I tried to make a joke there and it fell flat.
It
So,
did.
so I'm sorry. So for this episode, Destiny, we're asking you, what's a standout story? What's a story you'd like to share with us?
So one of the stories I like or that stood out to me was on July 29th, which is about the fifth day we were on the ground. And that was when we were like just getting getting going. So we were scouting out areas to go
Mhm.
and we hit a sweet spot called the fan zone.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so just for the viewers that don't know what the fan zone is, the fan zone was a place you could go and get something to eat, sit down, and there was two big screens for like whatever Olympic event, mainly France versus whatever country else was.
It was definitely French oriented, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
And then the other part was in the middle was a family zone and a very cool spot to take a picture, along with just different activities for the kids, not just the kids. And then it also had free water available stations stuff.
And this was the one at the Hotel de Ville.
Yes,
Right.
the
Mhm.
bigger one,
Right.
one of the ones we
It was definitely one of the best ones. Yeah.
yeah. And so this one was the day where it was our first day at the fan zone.
Mm.
So, um, well, and it was towards the end when we were walking out. There were two younger ladies. One was in black and one was fully in USA gear. And I was gonna go talk to him, and then I heard you say, "Destiny, go talk to him, so it doesn't look like I'm flirting with them."
Who, me? What? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I got to talking to these two girls. Funny, they're from France. Wouldn't have never known that. But they were supporting their hometowns, like where they were originally from. So the
Okay.
girl in US who I was mainly talking to, her name was Megan. She was from the obviously US. Um and Megan's friend was from Australia with a
Okay.
very cool Australian accent. Would have never guessed they were from France though.
So they were now in France, even though they came from America and Australia. They are in
Yeah,
France
they
now.
live in France.
Right. Right.
Yeah, they were
Okay.
from France, which was weird but cool.
Right. Right.
This was what kind of stuck out in this encounter was this was my first encounter by myself.
Hmm.
Like, obviously, like most of the time we split up, I was in the background taking pictures, or I was just alongside with Brandon helping make sure. But this one was I had nobody to lean to explain it or whatever. Also, what I found was that they were very excited about these pens,
Hmm.
very receptive about it too, and so that was pretty cool.
Why were they so receptive? What was their reason for their openness?
It was more just because they like the fact of 'cause since trading is a thing, just loved they got a pen out of kind of it,
Okay.
but with the story along with it, so that was
So
kinda cool.
so let me ask you a couple of questions because it was kind of your first on your own, okay? Because I kept threatening you guys about how I was going to eventually throw you under the bus, right?
Mhm.
Scary.
Right? And so because eventually you can only be the support team member for so long. I mean, and you guys were great with that. I mean, you're always there with pins, and cards and, handing
Yeah,
them to me or sticking them in my pockets.
Yeah,
or-
we kept you from getting pickpocketed.
that
Another
that is
story,
true.
but-
Yes. Yeah, that's another story but that's a very good point because I had become familiar with you guys putting things in my pocket. But I knew Destiny that you were nervous, and I shared with you both how I felt that way when I was in Australia. The first 3 days I was there, I felt just so out of place and awkward and yet wanting to share, but not feeling comfortable doing it. And so I knew the awkwardness that you were experiencing. So I was trying the best I knew how, which, you know me, I'm Mr. Grace and patience. Just trying to encourage you without, beating you up. So what surprised you about that, sharing that, going that far, sharing the gospel that you weren't expecting?
I think the surprise was me was as soon as I got into the story or, like, into the I just got going, like, there was no nerves,
Mm-hmm.
like, it just got done. I'm like, "Okay, I can actually kinda do this." And so, by the grace of God, he took that nerve away from
Right,
that.
right. But what an exciting way to experience that and to communicate that because you were scared to death until you actually started sharing. Then you're like, "Oh, okay." Because the truth is, as I've tried to explain before, what we do in Olympic pin training evangelism, it's unique, is we don't go up to complete strangers at Busch Stadium and go, "Hey, what are you doing at the game today?" Because people are like, "I'm here for the game, you idiot. What do you mean? What am I here for?" It's such a unique atmosphere, and I've described it ad nauseum, and you guys are like, "Sure, whatever." But it really is unique, isn't it?
Mhm.
Because you could not go up in any other scenario to two complete strangers and start talking about the Olympics, what they're dressed, where they're from, anything else
No.
that would make sense in that
Yeah.
context, right?
Mhm.
So, do you see why, the whole Acts 1:8 all in one place is so true? Because here you thought you were going to go talk to a couple Americans. You talked to a transplant American and a transplant Australian who are now French. It sounds like a couple of traitors to me, but that's another story. But I love to hear that you found it very, you were no longer anxious once you were into it. I think that's a great testimony about how God will use us if we're just willing vessels. Some of it is just it's not just always being willing, it's also having, the tools for that moment, and that's where I think is so unique with the Olympic trading because it is, like you said, "Wow, we got our first Olympic pins," and they were excited about that, and because of the design of the pin, it was unique, it was a nice pin, it weighed a ton, but people recognized it as a quality pin, and they wanted it for that reason, and even though we know the gospel story attached to it, and if you're paying attention, there was a cross on um, the flame. Um, it's not overtly religious, so people could still be comfortable with it, even if they weren't open to or comfortable with the story. That's where I feel like there's so much power in that for longevity. Because even in the moment, if they're not that excited about the Christian message, in 5, 10 years, if they're going through their Paris 24 pen collection and they come across our pen, they're going to remember, oh yeah, this was that one where they were talking to me about Jesus. What was it they were saying about Jesus again? And maybe they still have the card, maybe they don't. But to me, that's where it has. I like to say the Olympic pen trading evangelism has legs because it could long outlast our brief encounters. How long do you think you ended up talking with those girls? Yeah,
15 minutes?
probably no more than 15. Yeah, 10 and
Maybe less.
15. Yeah, yeah. And yet you got to share with them the greatest thing they could ever hear. Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
And you came away going, okay, this isn't so bad. Like I can do this, like you said, by God's grace, because He's the one who got you there. I mean, you had to put up with this guy, but He's the one who got you there.
I'm sure to put up
Um,
with you too.
well, yeah, no, I'm the bonus. You're the anyway. For those of you who don't know us, Brandon and I have known each other for years, and I love them both, and I tease a lot. So those of you who haven't seen that side of me yet, sorry. So um, lasting. Did I already asked that lasting impression from that encounter. Lasting, kind of like what stuck with you. What?
What
Why
stuck
is that one of your stories that you think
because
of?
I'm a very just person to begin with. So now I can say, okay, I went to Paris. That's how many miles away from all of my family, or somewhat my comfort zone. And I talked about God, which I don't do in the US, sadly, but I did a lot of scary things all at once,
Yeah,
and I did it.
yeah, absolutely, and that's worth celebrating because that's a huge deal. because I did not realize. I mean, I knew you both were young. You turned 20 while we were there. You're still a youngin, 19.
Mhm.
Um, I did not realize how you had not traveled. I knew you
Oh,
had not traveled internationally, but you literally had not left like the Midwest for the most part.
yeah, for the most part, the furthest I've been home still in America because I was on a cruise in Cozumel when I was 3, but that doesn't
Right.
count.
Right.
But the furthest other than that has been Orlando,
Right. Right.
or maybe I've been to New York. I don't know which was further,
Right. Right.
but yeah, either one
But the
is
bottom line is you had not traveled much,
no.
and you both were there the distance with me. You were there
Mhm.
for 19, 20 days, whatever it was. That's a long time. I don't care who you are.
Especially with you.
Not untrue. Not untrue. Um, Gee, it's a sad thing. The microphone cut out on you. In here.
Dang.
No, but you're right. It was a long day, and I love you. I don't know if you know this or not, but your dad was telling me about how when he asked you how I was, you're like, "Well, we definitely saw another side of Jeff."
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you're welcome. Uh,
I don't think I said thank you.
Brandon, you two had been together a lot,
Mhm.
kind of her being your right hand person.
Yeah.
What was your takeaway from that encounter, even though you weren't standing right there with her?
Well, I wasn't right there with her, but little do you know, I was right behind the girl she was talking to, taking pictures of what she was doing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Just making sure
Like a good ground team member will do.
exactly.
Yes.
And so it was just one of those things where I was really proud of her for actually, doing it on her own.
Hmm.
Because like she said, it was the first time she had done it on her own. And like she had talked to people when we were paired up,
Right.
but
She
um,
was literally by herself. I mean,
yeah,
nobody was with her
no, 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 no,
other than, I
no.
mean, she saw you, but still you weren't
Hmm.
engaged in that conversation.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
after that, we had done more, or I want to say more equal sharing when we were paired up. But like I said, first time for her doing that, I was very proud of her.
Right.
So
Yeah. Well, let me go back to something you said, Destiny, just to follow up because I think it's fair because, like I said, well, I don't share in America, and that's true for me too. And I'm a pro. I'm a pastor, right? And one of the transitions I always struggle with in coming back from the Olympics is um, guilt about not sharing as much here. But then I have to remind myself, well, again, we don't have the same situation where I'm going to have the opportunity to use a tool like the pen to transition to the gospel conversations. So part of me gives myself a break, but the other part is I think that it's a rightful conviction for us and for all of us as Christ followers to, I do need to be sharing more.
mhm.
And whether that means just starting with, I need to be praying for who I could share with. I mean, that was a big part of our day every day. It's like, Lord, where are you leading us? And who's going to be there that we can share with?
Mm,
And that should be our prayer every day we walk out of our dorms or homes or anything else, is we
mhm.
should be saying, Lord, who do you have me to share it with? And who's going to be there? Where do you want me to go? And who's going to, or, here's my schedule for the day. Who can I share with today?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I want to do better coming back from Paris is, helping people learn the three circles tool that we
Mhm.
use and become more familiar with it and comfortable with it so that they can share it more easily. That's why I like the video I sent you guys about the three circles in 3 minutes because I'm
Yeah.
like, man, if an 8-year-old girl can do it,
Anti.
why can't I? Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So cool. All right. Anything else? All right. Well, as we wrap up, let me invite you to join us for our Paris 24 Outreach Celebration, September 29th, 3 p.m. at Concord Church in South St. Louis County, St. Louis on Tesson Ferry Road. We are working on, I should find out today if we've been approved with YouTube to live stream through YouTube. If not, we think we have some other options, but we want a live stream available for people who can't be in St. Louis with us, like Ellsbury or outer perimeters, and or like our buddy Tony who lives in Mississippi. But we invite you to come and join us for dessert, drinks, stories, pictures, video. Our I'll have my pin display up. I assume you guys will be bringing your pins, and we'll share some of the great things that happened in Paris. And then we'll also use this night to kick off Italy 2026 and the winter outreach for Italy from Milan Cortina. And we will receive a love offering that at night. So um, these two wonderful MBU students will be with us, and I'll be there. And we're working on Tony joining us either by video or maybe even live. So it's going to be a great night. We invite you to come and be a part of it. Thanks for tuning in today for another Paris 24 30 and 30 short story. Tune in again next time.